And I want to thank all of you for being here today to honor the over 1.1 million men and women who have died in defense of this American republic. We are surrounded today by stories, thousands of stories. I don't know your story. I can read your face, but I don't know your stories. I'm going to tell you today a story. It's about an individual that I have grown to know over the past almost half century. This story begins in Long Island, New York in 1967. Lieutenant Colonel Peter Frederick, United States Air Force, getting ready to retire. He has a job waiting for him. He has a wife and a young baby daughter. And he volunteers for service in Southeast Asia. He told his family, "They need me." On March 15th, 1967, Lieutenant Colonel Peter Frederick and his wingman were flying a mission, an armed reconnaissance mission in North Vietnam. His call sign was Hot Dog 2, and his wingman was Hot Dog 1. As they rolled in through the clouds, only one of them came out. There was no parachute. There was no fireball. There was no crash site. They called in a search and rescue effort, and they found nothing. It's as if Lieutenant Colonel Peter Frederick had vanished off the face of the earth. In 1971, I was going through training at Fort Bragg, North Carolina. I bought a POW bracelet. Maybe some of you remember those bracelets. It had his name on it. Lieutenant Colonel Peter Frederick, United States Air Force, 3/15/67. And I wore that bracelet for years and years and years until the chrome was off of it, until you couldn't read the name, and until the copper cut into my wrist. I finally took it off, put it with the other things on my dresser, but every Memorial Day I would put it back on again to remember my friend. Well, in the spring of 2004, I talked to my wife, and I told her, I think it's time to let him go. So let's go down to the mall, to the Vietnam Memorial. And we went down there. We saw what was left of the cherry blossoms, and then we went to the wall. Well, when you go there, I don't know how many of you have been there, you go to a kiosk, you tell them the name of the person you're looking for, and they print out on a piece of paper his name, when he or she was lost, and where on the wall you can find them. So I got the piece of paper, panel 16 East, line 84. I went over and I found his name on that wall, and I looked at it, and it was like looking into his face. I took my bracelet off, placed it at the wall, I saluted, and we left. Next morning I got up, grabbed the keys to my car. That piece of paper that had been on the kiosk, that I got at the kiosk, was on my desk. So I grabbed it just to look at it, and I got goosebumps. Because on this piece of paper was nothing. There was no writing. It was black on one side, white on the other. There was nothing. I didn't know what to do or what to say. So I went to my wife, that great Army wife, 25 years. She knows my heart as well as I do. She looked at me and looked right in my eyes and said, "Well, I guess he let you go too." And then I was asked to speak today. And so I looked at the POW MIA registry just to find out if there was any news about him. And I found out, to my surprise, that he'd been found. His remains returned. And I felt very depressed that I had let him go. And then I looked at the date that his remains were found and when he was returned. And it was the same spring of 2004 that I had placed his bracelet at the wall. I didn't let him go. He'd been found. He did let me go because he was home and he didn't need me anymore. Now his wife and daughter, they have closure. I don't know your stories, but I can read your faces. And I've got a new bracelet. And it says Colonel Peter Frederick, 3/15/67, North Vietnam, Hot Rod 2, home, 2004. And I will wear this every Memorial Day for the rest of my life. As we leave this hallowed ground today, again, I want to thank you for honoring the men and women who gave their last breath of life to this great American republic that we have. And I would ask that a merciful God hold these men and women in the palm of his hand and smile